NERDSoul.
Why you a black man to love? All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Black Together, Walk in Her Shoes. I am Lady Lisa. I'm here with my sister, cousin, partner in crime, Madam Butterfly. Say what's up.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
All right, this week we have a new topic. We are talking about how art imitates life and life imitates art, specifically how social media impacts relationships. So we're kind of dig into maybe some topics about celebrity, social media platforms, and maybe even texting, and how all of that can and does impact relationships. But before we jump in, as always, we have to see what kind of footwear we have for such an occasion. So what's in our shoebox?
I'm so glad you asked. Today we have a metallic pleather pointed toe zip up boot because all that glitters ain't gold.
No, and that sounds hideous. I just try to imagine. So the zip is on the side, ain't it?
Yes, and it's an ankle boot. It's an ankle boot, and it's silver, and it has a brown heel that it looks like you could use it to nail some, put some pictures up on the wall.
And trust me, somebody has. Someone has. I guarantee you they have. With the glitter falling off after a little while, it gets kind of old, then it gets all crumbly.
Yes.
All righty. Well, here we go. So let's talk about, first of all, we have all these different social media platforms. Some people that I think it's safe to say that the majority of people are on some type of social media platform. Our mothers, for some people, grandmothers, aunties, uncles, most of them are on some sort of social media platform. A lot of people are on all of them. They're just constantly on their phones, checking, just dinging, constantly posting. It's craziness. And so I think for a lot of people, it's become a major part of life in every way, shape, or form, and honestly runs people's lives. You know what I mean? Whatever I'm doing, I have to make sure it's known on social media. I have to make sure that people see me doing X, Y, and Z. I have to make sure I get a picture, of where I am, so that they know I went on this nice vacation. So they know I was with so-and-so who's driving this nice car, and on and on and on and on. It's like, God forbid you do something for the sake of having fun or the sake of having a good time. You must document for the world to see in order for it to matter. Right? To me, down to people going to a concert and recording the concert the whole time they're at the concert. So you paid your ticket, right, to come see Beyonce live, right? You're gonna record this the whole time. Is you gonna go home and watch the concert? Is that what you're gonna do? Because you could have stayed home and waited till it came on Netflix and watched it, and probably got a better view.
Indeed. Yep.
Just it's the madness of it all.
Yes.
But anyway, so we're gonna kind of talk about all of that. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and even talk about celebrities and how what we view as what's going on in their life, right? What they choose to show us. Sometimes don't choose because somebody else got them on camera, right? And then take that as, I want to be like them, or I want to do this, or I want to do that, based on what we're seeing that may or may not be reality.
Yes.
You know, and people getting in trouble liking pics, you know, and tweets and all these different emojis that have all these different meanings, and you know, getting friend requests sent to them and sending friend requests, accepting the friend request comments. I mean, you get found on social media by ex from so many years ago having conversations you ain't supposed to have. The secret children.
Oh, you know, Lord.
Secret children finding you. Children you didn't know existed finding you. I mean, shoot, better than doggone CIA sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, social media is a lot, but I think you know, and really when we, you know, said we're going to talk about this, when we said relationships, I was thinking about romantic relationships, but now that I've said this impacts all different kinds.
It does.
Of relationships.
It does.
Yeah. So what did you want to say about it?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about, like, you know, what is presented on social media is what people want to present, you know, and 9 times out of 10, I should say more often than not, people aren't going to post on their social media horrible, horrific, traumatic, tragic, humiliating, you know, the worst of the worst things that happen in life or on a given day. They're just not going to. You know, they're not going to post pictures where their hair is looking crazy or they're ashy or when they first wake up and they got crust in their eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
because you woke up like this.
Right? And all of those pictures, you know, you can tell like their face is fresh. Like, no, you don't have any lines on your face from the sheet. Like,
you didn't get that good sleep. You didn't get that good sleep at all.
Right, like none of the, like, come on now, like, really,
your hair isn't smashed on one side.
Exactly. You just woke up with your face just oiled, just you just shining, like you just went through all of the stages of facial cleanser and toner and moisturizer and all of that in your sleep.
Look, I need that pillow. I don't know what kind of pillow you got. I need that pillow there.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Lip gloss and chapstick and all of this. Like, come on now. You know when you wake up, your lips so dry that if you smile too hard, they're going to crack and bleed. Cut it out.
You wake up like... Yeah,
cute, you know, so
offending your own self with your own breath, like, oh God, what is that?
Yeah, so it's just like, you know, for me, social media is entertainment. You know, that's to me, it's entertainment. I like to post things that are inspirational or fun. I'm a part of, you know, different groups that are entertaining to me. You know, I share images of my family that I feel are okay to share. There are a lot of moments, you know, family time moments that I don't share with you know, on social media, because there are some things that I'm okay with the world having access to. Because keep in mind, once you put it out there on the internet, it's not just whoever's on your friend list on that particular platform. Once you put it out there, you no longer have control of it. So, you know, there are some images that I'm okay with the world seeing and having, and there are some images that are just for me and my loved ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I decide that I'm going to text a picture out to a group of friends or a group of family members, that's where that picture needs to stay.
Right.
You know, because it's not for the world. And so I think sometimes that not only do people post things to give a certain image of themselves, but I also think that sometimes people look at others' posts and think that they can assess who a person is or the type of relationship that they have or whatever the case may be based upon those images. And that can be a dangerous thing, especially if you are comparing to yourself or you are comparing your relationship to the image of a relationship that you see, whether it's somebody you know or a celebrity.
Yeah, that's true. But I think on the flip side of that, I think that's why people need to be careful with what they put on social media also, because people can get a certain perception. Not to say you have to live your life for that, but for example, I don't know, the first thing I think of, people have to be careful when they are like posting pictures of a friend of the opposite sex a lot and in certain situations, because it can come off as, well, is that your new man? Is that your new girl? That kind of thing. It's I don't know. It's a slippery slope, because part of me is like, it's your life, do what you feel, but then you are kind of building this perception in a way. And so I think if you want to be sensitive to those that matter, not to everyone, but those that matter, that see it, when you're in a relationship, I think, because social media, I think, is so much more important, probably the generation right after ours, where it's like social media is life. What you put out there is life. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So it's like, for them, you have to be really careful what you put out there, because it's like, oh, well, I see you posted a picture, at such and such place on Saturday. You said you was, it's like, it's life kind of thing. So maybe in those cases, but I don't know. It's just crazy to me how it affects so many, relationships. And just, I watch a lot of court shows. I love court shows. We watch a lot of divorce court, and I still watch Judge Judy, even new Judge Judy that's on there. I watch her. And it's common to see cases where, people have been fighting, assaulted, or divorce court, they're breaking up, and there's all of this evidence they present, that's text messages and social media posts.
Yes.
And many of people have been found out and taken down. And taken down because of your doggone social media.
Yes.
Right? Your doggone, so you posting stuff and you think you being slick, you think you being, whatever. Some people will even come up with these accounts where they've made up a new name or whatever it is, but it still can kind of, I don't know, be, taken apart. And it's I don't know. It's really crazy to me. And I think the other thing is, like you said, people are trying to live these lives that they think other people are living, but they're also trying to live secret lives. They're trying to have this boo thing on the side. And it's like, you can't really do that with social media, because all it takes is, the world is small. The world is small, right? And I think most people find, unless you live in really huge cities, you'll find that where you live is small. And you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, kind of thing. And especially when it comes to social media, it's amplified that much more. So it's like, you can't think that you're gonna live this secret life and have your Facebook boo thing and your Twitter boo thing, and and it's not going to be found out.
That's true. That's very true. That's very true. And something else that I had thought about, it's like when you said that kind of the social media really popped off with the generation after us. It just seems like these younger generations, their self-worth and their self-esteem is so tied into their social media presence. Everything is about likes and followers and, friend versus unfriend, and like all of these different things. And, I can't really identify with it because, we come from a different era. where we actually had to interact with people, and there was a time where, there either there weren't cell phones or cell phones weren't necessarily the norm. And so, or you had a payphone or you just had to talk to people once you got home, like all of those things. And so the interpersonal connections, that those types of relationships, all of the things that kind of help to develop a young person socially is being lost, because all of the interaction, or the majority of the interaction, is digital. And especially during this time frame with COVID, where a lot of kids were being where schools were shut down, so they were at least getting interaction physically in the school when they were going. But then it became pretty much 100% digital, because everybody had to stay inside. But when your self-worth is tied into how many followers you have, or somebody liking or not liking this photo or that post or whatever, like how can you really develop into a well-rounded individual? It's kind of like these it's a mass making of socially awkward or socially inadequate individuals who are still held to a certain expectation in regards to marriages and children, families, all of these types of things, and they don't have basic communication skills, because everything is text and posts, and some people can't even formulate a full sentence without abbreviations. Like it's gotten to that point, and it's I may be kind of making it seem like it's bigger than what it is, but it's a big deal.
It is.
And so thinking of like my children's generation and their futures in terms of being finding a marital partner, and feeling secure that they'll be able to find someone who knows how to communicate with them outside of that digital world, because marriage is real, and you can't just run your marriage through text messaging.
It's not recommended. So, I mean, if you want to cuss out your spouse from the other room via text, I mean, I don't know. That's a quieter way to do it, but
just send over the middle finger emoji like 20 times. Just keep pushing the button.
You're like, what is it? I'm number one. What? I know. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. Too so funny. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a lot. And to me, it just seems like it's so much pressure, honestly, and so much stress, again, because people are like, living, it's like they're living for and through social media. And like you said, with the likes and the whatever else, did anyone comment, did anybody like it, so and so didn't like it, this all this different stuff. And it's like I don't know. It's amazing to me, I think, how people have honestly gotten, I think, so comfortable with it to the point where it does really affect relationships.
It does.
Where, it can be really great because you can reach people you would never be able to reach. You can get back in touch with people you lost, touch with, and communicate with family members, from long distances, all of those different things, but then, that can get you in trouble too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me how people will allow that to affect relationships that are actually real and in-person relationships, because they're so busy trying to find something new and exciting online.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
yeah.
So one thing that I thought about when we talked about, when we discussed having this as a topic on the show, um it just in the context of romantic relationships, and we've kind of touched on this before in regards to like reality TV, and how that kind of imagery has negatively, some of that imagery has negatively impacted um Black marriage, and in the same way, the filters, these, now, back in our time, I'm saying like, we're old timers.
Back in that time.
But back in our time, there were certain Black women that I can remember that were like timeless beauties, like
Right.
Pam Grier, Diane Carroll, Jane Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like I can remember, and all of these women, they had different looks, but they were all stunning,
Right.
beautiful women. And they were, I don't want to use the word normal, but they were natural.
There you go.
And when I say that, I'm not talking about, processed hair versus afro, but I'm just saying, like, now it seems as though the social media beauty standard is like a cartoon character.
Absolutely.
The features in the face are like a Bratz doll, with the long eyelashes and all of this, and the big pouty lips, and then the very cinched waist, the exaggerated hips, and butt, you know what I mean? And this is what is being pushed out there in social media. These women are going out and mutilating themselves, going to foreign countries, and getting these medical procedures done because they can't afford to have them done in the US. They're dying from these things. They're being disfigured from these things. They are amputees from these things, and so many women look at these images and think, well, if I don't look like that, then I'm not going to be appealing to a man to be able to get a relationship. And there are some young men who are looking at these images and they expect for women to look that way, and they're holding them against that standard, but that image is not really real.
It's not.
The average woman doesn't naturally develop to have a body that looks like how K. Michelle's body looked when, before she got some of the silicone or whatever taken out of her behind.
Yeah, because K. Michelle don't look like that. You know what I mean? On her
exactly.
Own.
Exactly.
I mean, Cardi B don't look like she does on her own. I've seen pictures of her, and she was already a beautiful girl. That's what gets me. Her and Nicki Minaj, another one. She was already a gorgeous girl. And but yeah, I totally agree. But see, the thing is this too. It's so much because it's the imagery, and then it's the the false narrative of these ballers out there, right? It's a false narrative of men have to make so much money, they're expected to make so much money, and then these, and then it's like, okay, well, if I'm gonna get me a dude who makes this much money, which 9 times out of 10 you ain't, I have to look a certain way because dudes with this much money want women who look this certain way, so I need to look this certain way to get that dude.
Yes.
And it's just like, but 20-some-year-old dudes are not legally making this kind of money. They're not living these kinds of lifestyles, right? The rappers aren't really living these kinds of lifestyles outside of Puff and Damian Dash. You know what I mean? The the guys at the top, but they're not living these lives. These are rented cars. These are leased mansions. Like,
yes, it's so true.
These are borrowed chains. Like the chains they're wearing, they went to a jeweler and say, "Hey man, can I put this money down and use this chain and bring it back to you tomorrow?" That's how this is going. And I know it took our generation a while to realize that, because we believed it when we saw it, when we watched videos, when music videos actually came on music television, right?
And I watched TV till TV went off.
A lot of people will not understand what that means, but
at all.
We believed it too, because that's what we saw. We didn't know any different. We're thinking, oh my gosh, they're all living these lives. And then we got older and we learned and we realized. But it's being put out there, and it's like, so I want to get me this man who makes this crazy amount of money at 20-some, 30-some years old, which is not going to happen legally. Okay. And for a lot of them, even illegally, it's not a big pool of them doing this. So then I have to look a certain way, because that's what I see out there. They're with these women who look this way, but you have to understand, these people live in a different world. Those few people, that tiny circle of people, they live in a totally different world where they put this particular image out there, for their own reasons, because they are, in the music industry, because they are actresses or at whatever it is. This isn't for real people. This isn't for people living normal everyday lives. And it's seeped into that. And I honestly don't understand how some of these normal everyday people are getting their hands on money to live the lives that they're living. The clothes you see them wear, and the weave done on a constant, the eyelashes done on a, nails done on a constant. Where are y'all getting this? Because this stuff is not cheap. Even when you're getting it cheap, it's not cheap to maintain on a regular basis. So it's seeping into, y'all are breaking yourself.
Yeah.
Something's suffering.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, for instance, somebody might post a picture of an expensive car. And so then, that may give an assumption of a certain economic status based upon the type of vehicle. Nobody may not know that this person lives, they may have 7 roommates.
Right.
You know what I mean? And only pay $100 for rent or something like that. You know what I mean? Or they may live with family. Right. Because I saw a post where there was I don't even know what kind of car it was, but it was like a very, like, $100,000 car or something like that. And it was parked in this carport of this old house that had, you remember the visor, like the old,
carport.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You saw it? Yeah.
I saw it.
So, and it said something along the lines of, you had the car was the priority instead of the house, or something like that. But whether a person is being witnessed in person driving that vehicle around, or whether they're posting pictures of that vehicle, the assumption is not going to be that their house is not a reflection of that vehicle. Right. There's going to be a belief or an assumption that goes along, well, if they're driving a car like this, then they must have a house like whatever. And not everybody's priorities are in order. So just because you see somebody, with all these name brand clothes, or, taking pictures with fancy cars and all of this stuff, that doesn't mean that they are managing their life the way that it needs to be managed.
That's true.
They may be living paycheck to paycheck because they are squandering their money for an image, and don't have anything packed, saved away for a rainy day or anything like that. And people like that, I'm sure, had a very difficult time when COVID hit, and people were losing their jobs and all of that kind of stuff. Like, we have to focus on what is real.
Right.
Not an illusion. If you are putting more energy into an illusion as opposed to what's real, then your life, the conditions of your life will never change. They will never improve because the energy is going to the wrong place.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And I don't know, just thinking about it, I don't know where we go from here. I don't know how this I don't know how this turns, in terms of this being over, this whole fascination and obsession, with what you see on social media and other people's supposed lives that you see on social media, and people, regular everyday people, trying to mimic that and make that reality, especially when it comes to, like I said before, celebrities. It's like you cannot mimic their life. You can't imagine their lives. And just to piggyback on what you said about the whole roommate thing, that's something that is very typical out here in LA. Is for you to have, people can have 4, 6 roommates. So they might show their fabulous apartment, but they're not showing you the other roommates that live there. Right? They may, I live, oceanfront in Malibu. I have a condo. Yeah, okay, of course you do. It's 6 of y'all splitting the rent. You know what I mean? But they'll make it seem like this is my place and I'm out here. And then it's like, well, what do you do? I sell jewelry on Etsy. I'm sorry, what? No, you know what I mean? And then people kill themselves like, well, I can do the same thing. No, you can't, because they're giving you the bits and pieces that they want you to see to get you to believe the image that they want to portray.
Yes.
And people are killing themselves trying to live this life that ain't real for them.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Ruining relationships and trying to have relationships with people that aren't real themselves. Everybody's trying to play a role and then wonder why you can't have a real relationship.
Yeah. Well, so that, I don't know why this just popped into my head. It was the episode of Judge Mathis, and it was an older man and, then like a middle-aged man, and the older man had been a mentor to the other guy from, he was, like a preteen or something like that. He was like a father figure to him. And the older man loaned him some money, and it was like thousands of dollars. They ended up having some, a falling out, and the guy never paid him back. But prior to them having a falling out, while the man is waiting for his money, the younger guy, he made comments about that he had gotten 2 different vehicles in the time that he owed him his money, and he was still wondering where was his money, because if he has this truck, then obviously he has money. And what I was thinking was, no, he may not have money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that has nothing to do with the fact that the guy owed him the money and he should have paid him back. So let me just make that clear, pay your debts, y'all. But anyway, if a person has good credit, they could go to a dealership and they can drive off the lot, no money down, and pay their car note. And if they already had a vehicle that had a car note, they very well could end up with a same or similar car note with which they already had. So there's not a change in their actual debt to income ratio. It's still the same. But the appearance is, they got a new vehicle. Well, what perspective are you looking from? Because you might decide that when you get a vehicle that you always put $3,000 or $4,000 down because you want your monthly payment to be as low as possible. That might be something that you do. But just because that's something that you do doesn't mean that that's something that somebody else does. So that doesn't bring him any closer to accumulating the thousands of dollars that he needed in order to pay you back. But because he saw that on social media, that made him even more agitated with the fact that he hadn't gotten his money back. Once again, I'll say he needed to pay the debt. This is not any type of justification for not paying the debt. However, seeing those posts, he had his own idea about how that impacted him.
Right.
And it may not have had any bearing whatsoever. You know what I mean? Or if there was a down payment made, since this guy likes to borrow, who's to say he didn't borrow the money from somebody else in order to get the vehicle?
True.
You know what I mean? Because clearly he's not paying his debts back. So I'm just saying, just find some other sucker to borrow from, right?
It's true. It's true. It's like a never ending thing, and then it's, there are misunderstandings, kind of like what you're talking about. And then, via social media, via text, because you can't pick up on tone, you can't pick up on a lot of intention and all of that. And then, people determine, well, I'm not going to pick up the phone and have a conversation, about this to clear it up. We just don't have this animosity and this discomfort between us because I feel like you said, you said, it's like, well, you don't know how I said it because it's just words on a screen.
Right.
Unless I specifically said, yo mama, you can't. I mean, you can't really, that's not a misconception. But, it happens. It happens, but I think it's very rare that people say, okay, I think they being a little funny with me, but we need to have a conversation because this is not how things usually go between us.
Right.
We need to talk on the phone, X, Y, and Z. I know that's happened to me before where it's like, I've kind of taken stuff the wrong way. People have taken stuff the wrong way from me. And we're talking, it's like, no. That's not what I was saying. It's not where I've come from. There have been cases where people are going to tell me what I meant. And it doesn't matter anyway. It's like, well, you just determined you're going to be offended today.
Right. So right.
I let you have
it. But you know what? I think that's something, and maybe I'll get a little bit of flack for saying this, but I think that for the generation that was pre-social media, it's easier to pick up the phone and have a conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of the, and I'm not speaking to, humility or, being humble. I'm not speaking to it from that perspective. I'm speaking about it from the perspective of a lot of these younger generation folks. They're not accustomed to talking on the phone. They are accustomed to sending some type of message. And so the idea of picking up the phone to have a conversation is already not something that a lot of people want to do. And then when you couple that with there's some kind of issue, that makes it even less desirable, And so, that's part of the concern that I was talking about earlier in terms of being inadequate socially, in terms of communication skills, because anyone who's been married before knows and understands that communication can make or break a marriage.
True.
And if you don't have those skills, you're doomed before you even start.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. And I think about people have seen these memes of people walking, and one lady walked into, I think, some sort of like pool out here out in the courtyard where there's a mall and stuff. She just walked right into the pool. People are walked into poles, all kinds of stuff because they're just so tied, to their phones, that kind of thing. It's their life. And it's, I mean, not their phones talking, but their phones, texting kind of thing. It's just, I don't know. I think when it seems like when people do talk on the phone, really younger people, it's for something quick. Like to make sure, okay, I don't know. It just always seems like there's for something quick. Yeah, I'm coming from the store now. Okay, bye. That kind of thing. And it's a lot. And so I don't know. I think it just has a lot that ties closely to the failure of relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but friendships. Really, it's like how do you keep friendships going? How do you have genuine friendships? How do you have genuine romantic relationships when everything is via text? Everything is via text. And you met each other based on some doctored up picture on social media. And then of course you have to try to maintain the doctored up image when you see them, right? And that's hard to do because, Lord, you got to put on a costume every time you go somewhere. You got to put on the lashes, you got to put on the wig, you got to put on the 10 pounds of makeup, you got to put on the Spanx and child.
Well, and now we have to add, you got to put on the beard. Whether it's adhesive or drawn on. And the hairline,
Lord.
filling in the hairline, or now they have the little hair dust that just is sprinkled on,
or the glue on ramen noodle hair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because a lot of men would be like, y'all got all this stuff, we ain't got nothing, here you go. Can't say that no more. Here you go.
Exactly.
It to me, it's too much to have to maintain that. I mean, to me, before all of this being so common, of course Weave's been around forever, not to say it hasn't, but I tell you this, I guarantee you this, if we were to grab blindly, right, if we were blindfolded and grabbed 10 Black women off the street, right, and took off our blindfold, I guarantee you 8 out of 10 would have weave. No question.
Agree with that.
No question.
Or wig. Lace front, some variety of hair that does not
grow out of
derive
from their own self.
Right.
And again, we have to always give this disclaimer. We are not knocking people who wear weaves or wigs. We're knocking people who do this as a way of life.
No, I do you. If that makes you happy,
do you. I'm just saying. Anyway,
at some point, a person, especially like with these romantic relationships, if you're doing all of these things, which is totally fine, you're well within your right. At some point, you're going to have to reveal yourself completely to this person. And, you have to be mindful that if you look like a completely different person, because of all of these attachments, you have to be prepared for the possibility that the person that you're dealing with isn't going to accept you for how you are naturally. And that's not to say that you're unattractive or anything like that. It's just you have set the bar at a certain place that you look a certain way.
Right.
And if you naturally is drastically different than that person, not everybody is going to be able to deal with that drastic difference.
Right.
One way or the other. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they prefer the made up you over the natural you. It could be a situation where they say, listen, I want you to be natural. I want you to look like who you are and not that person. And they want to see you as you. Right. And if you're attached to the attachments, then, that may put you in a difficult situation that you may not be ready. You may not be ready to make that decision. And of course there are people, I'm sure, that's saying, well, they just need to accept me for me. Well,
they're trying to, but you won't accept you for you.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, everybody has their choices. I'm not knocking it. Do what you want, live how you want to live. At the same time, you have to understand that anytime that you are enhancing, altering, whatever word that you want to put in there, when you are making changes, modifications to yourself, a person may comment on it. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a thick enough skin to be able to accept the reality that you've altered yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And this is what this person is accustomed to. So whether it's the actual wearing of, these accessories or, attachments or whatever, or if there's all of these filters that you have on social media, whether it's, dating online or whatever the case may be, you have all of these filters, and then you're afraid to meet somebody in person because you know that you don't look like that. Or Photoshop, that you're 300 pounds and you can't say no to a ham, but every photo that he has, you a size 8. You know what I mean? Like, come on. It ain't nothing, live your life. 300 pounds is 300 pounds, but you're not a size 8.
Right.
At 300 pounds. That's impossible.
But then you want to show up on the date with your 300-pound self and get offended when he's like, ma'am.
Who are y'all?
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's not to slight anybody, because I'm a fluffy girl. So, for anybody who didn't tune into our live show, which stay tuned because we will be having another one. But for those who haven't tuned into our live show that doesn't know that I am a fluffy girl, I am a plus size woman. I'm not speaking poorly of being a plus size woman. What I'm talking about is be you.
Right.
Be you consistently, whether you're in the street or you're on social media, because at some point you're going to have to confront who it is that you really are versus who it is that you put out there. And I can tell you, there have been a few times, because not everybody that I'm friends with on social media I've actually met in person or, have some kind of personal relationship with. If you have a friend on social media and they send me a friend request, well, if I see that they're friends with you, I'm just assuming, okay, well, they must be good people or whatever if you're friends with them. And I just kind of, leave it at that. Mm-hmm. But there have been times that I've been at the grocery store or something, and I'm like, wait a minute, that person looks familiar. And then I realized, oh, that's one of my friends on social media. Yep. Never met him in real life, but here it is. You know what I mean? And those just happen to be people who looked like who they are for me to be able to recognize it. But how many times do we possibly encounter people that are our friends on social media and we walk right past them and don't even notice because they look completely different?
Yeah. This is a tangent story. That's how we do on here. But this is a tangent story where that made me think of, I had friended someone on Facebook. I don't remember who friended who, but we friended each other because I'm guessing because we both saw that we went to the same church, right? Mm-hmm. And we ended up friending each other. And I had never seen him in person. But then I turned around, was like, in church, and turned around and saw him. He saw me outside. We're like, hey. And then we just kind of, gave each other like a little hug. It was like, oh, it's nice to, see you in person. And I look over, and his wife, if her eyes were guns, I'd be dead.
Oh my gosh.
But there was nothing inappropriate. There was nothing disrespectful. There was no flirting, no anything like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And I was dead to her.
Oh my goodness.
I was dead to
Oh.
her. So me and her were kind of like,
Oh my
she's
goodness.
like, have a nice trip home.
Right. It wasn't Holy Ghost filled. I can tell you that right now. That car ride home was not
Yes.
Holy Ghost filled.
No, not at all. But it was interesting because it was just like I won't try to get with him, he won't try to get with me. It was just kind of like we go to the same church, and I can't remember how it came about. I just remember, saying, "Oh, he goes to the same church." I think we had some of the same friends on Facebook, or that kind of thing. And that's when I was really heavily involved in church. But that was just interesting. That was just very interesting. Like, who is she?
Right.
Ma'am, I am no one. I am a child of the Most High God. Let's be sure to conduct ourselves.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah,
that social media, it can be a tricky thing,
it can. Yes.
yeah. So just keep in mind, if you're going on social media with pure intentions and all of that, that doesn't mean that everybody that you interact with has those same pure intentions. And
Right.
you can't view a person's page with the same filter under which you post, because
Yeah.
everybody doesn't post for the same motivation as you, good or bad. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And so perception is not equal to reality,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
that that's true. That's
Yeah.
very true. Oh my God, my thought left my mind just that quickly.
Well, I had something that popped in my head while you were covering your thoughts. And that is, please, 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 y'all, don't be posting your relationship problems on social media. I don't care whether it's romantic relationship, family relationship, friend relationship. Please, please, please don't start bad mouthing and doing all of this foolishness on social media. Don't air your grievances with somebody, whether you once cared about them and you no longer care about them or whatever. Don't air your grievances on social media,
I agree.
especially as an adult. If you have an issue with somebody, pick up the phone and tell that person. That's the only way that your grievance is going to get addressed, by the person who can directly change whatever it is that you have a grievance about.
Yeah.
Social media is not the place to help you with a breakdown in the family or a breakdown in a relationship. That is just it's
Yeah.
so juvenile to me.
But I'm gonna tell you this though. If you do choose to post it and somebody choose to comment, do not
Oh.
comment back talking about mind your business.
Yes.
Ma'am, sir,
Yes.
you made it
Yes.
everybody's business.
Yes.
But as soon as somebody make a comment and say you was wrong, you need to
Hmm.
go and apologize. You need to mind your business.
Right. I can tell you, like, years ago, this guy that I've known since childhood. Well, I'm considerably older than him, so I'll say it, since I've known since he was a kid. He was married, and him and his, well, I believe it's his ex-wife now, but they had a just toxic relationship. And whenever they would have issues, she would go on this long rant or whatever about him. And I was friends with both of them on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I had met her a few times in knowing him.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, my friendship was with him, not with her.
Right.
So at some point, I don't really know what happened, because we weren't close like that. You know what I mean? But we had a lot of friends in common. So, you know, I would get wind of things that were happening. But anyway, at some point, I don't know, there were pictures that his wife found of a woman, and it was naked photos. And she posts this woman's photos on social media and does this whole drawn out paragraph about how horrible her husband is and how trash this woman is and all of this. And when I saw it, like, as a woman, my heart immediately sank for this woman. And I don't know that, I don't know who this woman is or anything like that. You know what I mean? Whether she's a quote unquote home wrecker or whether she didn't know at all what was happening. Like, I don't have that information.
Right.
And to me, it doesn't matter to me. For, as a woman, for you to believe that it is okay because you are hurt about your husband's violation of you, that you would post a woman's private photos that either she sent or he took or whatever the case may be, you would post that on social media for the world to see. And like, she didn't cut the woman's face out or anything. This was full frontal body posts that she put on the internet. And I put a comment and I was like, please, you need to take these photos down. This is not okay. And you shouldn't be posting this. Y'all have children who are old enough to see social media, like to be on social media. This is not okay. And she was just like, no, he shouldn't have did what he did. And she's trifling too. So this is what it is. And I'm just like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
This is horrible for so many reasons.
Yeah, for so many reasons, because then in that moment, I don't know, some people will look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that girl, that lady's embarrassed and da, da, da. I look at it as this: you doing that is more a reflection of you than it is of this woman.
Yes.
For me, and I think for most people who have lived a little, they are like, this is a lot about you, not so much about her.
Yes.
It's not going to be the outcome that you think it is, because everybody's going to be looking at you crazy because you posted this and you have this long drawn out, thing about her is making you look unhinged, right?
Yes.
And I understand, I understand the anger and the hurt behind it. That's not the issue. The issue is you making these irrational decisions based on that anger and hurt, and throwing this woman under the bus in that way. Not to say that I expect you to care so much about her feelings,
right?
But it's just, it's one of those things where you just cringe at, like, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Some people may feel otherwise and be like, she get what she get, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, here's my thing. Like, I would say that there are a lot of people who have either taken naked photos or some type of provocative photos that they have sent to somebody that they're either romantically involved with or that they're romantically interested in. Okay. So that's already a large population of people who have participated in that. So let's just take that part of it, because we don't know what type of relationship that they had, or if she was even aware that he was married, because it always seems as though, because there's a double standard, it always seems as though when there is a side chick or woman or whatever, she's the most awful person in the world, and the accountability is taken away from the person that it's supposed to go on, because in a marriage, the two of you are in a covenant together,
right,
and nobody can enter into that covenant unless someone allows it. Okay.
true,
And so the if the typically whether it's the woman that's cheating or the man is cheating on his woman with a woman, the woman always gets blamed. So it's either the side chick that gets blamed or the woman who's cheating that gets blamed. You see what I'm saying? But it seems like the women are held to a different standard in their participation of that act. That's just my view when in terms of like social media and the belief about who's at fault. And so with that being said, a lot of people can identify with sending pictures, whether it's, we can have this whole never ending discussion about, how revealing they are versus, all of that. But whatever, everybody, I can safely say that everybody has sent photos to a significant other, whether they were naked or not, they've sent them photos. Okay. So let's stamp that. So that was something that you decided to share with a person that you have a romantic relationship with. Okay. That is an image that should stay between you and that person.
Yeah.
Period. So that means that whether you're showing somebody else as the recipient, because if somebody sends you a photo, you shouldn't be showing it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And if you are a, scorned person in a relationship, and you find these images, you shouldn't be showing them or putting them on social media either, because we've all been in a situation where we have sent pictures. Like I said, now it may not be naked photos, but we've sent some type of photo to somebody before. And so that could just as easily be you.
Yeah.
In a misunderstanding of sorts, or just in somebody being malicious to do something like that. So just on a human level, it just seemed like such a violation, in my opinion. And I unfriended her through that whole thing. And I don't even think I'm friends on social media with him either, because he always has some chaotic stuff going on. But, it's just like social media is meant, to me, it's meant for connection and entertainment. This toxic thing that has come from it is just so dangerous. And we have to be very careful and mindful of how it negatively impacts our spirit, our relationships, our energy, our expectations, all of that, because it's just like you said, like where do we go from here? How do we get out of this mess? And the only way I really see how that can happen, because we don't go backwards in time as far as technology, the progression of technology. Yeah. So the only thing that I could think of is if something happened where the internet or whatever was temporarily shut down, in the same way that, we couldn't get toilet paper, or we couldn't, get things at the grocery store. There was a period of time where we had to figure it out because the whole system failed.
Right.
It seems like that would be the only way for people to put all of that down and get back to human interaction and human connection. And that way, when you say something, you can look in that person's eyes and see how what you said affected them.
Right.
It becomes more of a personal thing, and you can have empathy, because you're experiencing somebody's energy. It's not just words on a screen, but this is a human experience.
Yeah. And to go along with that, you're going to choose your words differently 9 times out of 10. Because a lot of people are really bad, but online and via text, you got all the nerve in the world, and you just you got everything for them. But if you were looking them in their face and they were looking in your face, your words would be different, your tone would be different, all of that.
Yeah, because you ain't ready for that 2-piece and a biscuit that don't come from Popeyes. And that's
Just
real.
saying. And yeah, it's really real. And you don't have all the nerve, that you had before. And also you might become a little more kind of like what you were saying, you become a little more aware of the effect of your words. You're not as callous about just saying whatever and just it's just words on the screen, you know what I mean, kind of thing. I'm just clicking my keyboard. It's no, there's a person connected, to this. Just like I feel sorry for kids now, because it used to be you would go to school and get bullied and come home and that was the end of it. But no. You go to school and get bullied and they continue it on social media when you come home. So it's something that just continues. And unfortunately, there's been an increase in kids committing suicide because and I think it's for that very reason. They can't even get away from it at home.
Yeah.
They turn on their computer and social media or turn on their phones or whatever, and it continues.
Right.
And I think a lot of times it's hidden from parents because they're embarrassed for whatever reason. I think there may be times where they have said or done something wrong, and it just kind of blew up from there. So they don't want to reveal that they did something wrong, and they feel maybe I deserve this because of X. And it's like, no, you're human. You should not have done or said what you said, but that doesn't make you deserving of constant harassment. Yes. Which is what it is. Let's just call it what it is. If it was done between adults, it would be called harassment.
So, And in our time, if there was some type of, in our time, I keep saying that, that's just so funny. But anyway, in our time, you have an issue with somebody on the playground or whatever, there, whoever was around at that particular moment are aware of what happened. Every now and then it may get, spread to a few other people or whatever, but in a few days it blows over and you keep it moving. With social media, it no longer becomes a select number of people in your class or the people in your school. It now becomes the world.
Yep.
And there are a lot of people that just hop on bandwagons. So because my friend or because my cousin is saying this about this person, I'm going to chime in too. Oh, well, this person is my friend or a friend of a friend of a friend. So I'm going to chime in too. And so now, day to day, you got an additional 100,000, whatever people coming at you saying all of these things. And it's hard enough for an adult to deal with that. Celebrities talk about it all the time, that some of the comments, like they have to just turn it off. They can't read it because some of the things that are said are so horrible. So imagine an 8, 9, 10-year-old, because right now children 8, 9, and 10 are committing suicide.
Yep.
They are not equipped with the tools to be able to handle the pressures of social media. They're just not.
They're not. And the other thing in terms of that is there is no separation, in terms of platforms between for ages. So it's like everybody's thrown in together. Now we all know that they have, you need to be this age to be on here. Are you this age? Click yes. You know what I mean? I'm 8, but I'm gonna tell you I'm 13 because I want to be on here. Or whatever else. And there's no separation between, what kids are seeing and what other adults are seeing and what kids can put up. So it's just this whole mishmash. And it's like y'all are seeing and dealing with adult content and situations and stuff that's like, I wouldn't want to see. It's a lot of things I don't want to see and, think are inappropriate for me to see, let alone for someone, younger.
Right.
So, yeah. So all of this, everything you said, affects relationships in general, romantic relationships, friendships, with family members, coworkers, and all of that. And I guess what we really want you to take away from this is just be more aware of the difference between reality and what someone wants you to see as their reality. People will put bits and pieces of their lives on social media as much as they want to share, some true, some not true. I remember seeing something where somebody posted, on my way to somewhere, like they were flying off somewhere, and it looked like they were in the plane sitting next to a window seat, but then they showed another picture where you backed away from them and they actually had a toilet seat.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, you really have an issue with how people perceive you. So, that's another level right there. So it's like, just take it all with a just have some discernment, and just be aware of what you're reading, the reality of it, who it's from. Be aware of what you're putting out there. Be aware of how it's affecting you. All of those things.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that's what we have for you guys today. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and most of all, share. We do have a live show coming up for you guys. We will be posting more details to come up, but we hope you will join us for that. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to NERDSoul for allowing us to be on this platform. And we will see you all next time.
Peace, love, and light, everybody.
Bye, y'all.